Chapter 29:15. Mu Lingbing's face was also filled with guilt. I was too careless. I didn't notice Yixuan's emotions. As Bailey Hongzhuang's mother, she should have paid more attention to Bailey Hongzhuang's situation, but she didn't even notice such an important matter. Seeing that everyone was beginning to blame themselves, Si Tuyen couldn't help but speak up. Since Hongzhuang and Beichen deliberately wanted to hide it from us, they definitely wouldn't have revealed any flaws. There's no need for everyone to blame themselves. He had watched Di Beichen grow up. Not revealing his emotions was an ability that a young sect head should have. Thus, Di Beichen and Shangguan Yingying would naturally act the most natural when they wanted to deceive them. Although they had been careless, there was no point in haggling over it now that things had developed to this point. I wonder when Yixuan and the others left? Quickly chase after them and take a look. Mu Jin's furrowed her brows. With their cultivation, it's too dangerous for them to head to Penglai Island like this. Mu Lingbing shook her head. We haven't seen Yixuan and Beichen these past few days. We're not sure when they left either. At this moment, Yu Linfeng suddenly spoke up. We haven't seen any traces of Xiren and Shangguan Yingying since 3 days ago. Could it be? Lan Yunxiao and the rest's expressions changed. You mean they left together? That's impossible. Mu Jin shook her head. Yixuan and Beichen do have the qualifications to enter Penglai Island, but Xiren and Shangguan Yingying aren't the inheritors of the blood-ground abyss and their cultivations haven't broken through to the 5th level of the Purple Realm. Even if they wanted to go to Penglai Island, they wouldn't be able to do so. That's right, that shouldn't be possible. However, Si Tian suddenly spoke up. No, that's very possible. Everyone could not help but look at Si Tuyen when they heard that. They did not understand why Si Tuyen would suddenly say something like that. The Cloud Sword Sect's sect master went to Penglai Island before, and it said that he went there under the condition of not being at the 5th level of the Purple Realm. As for the specific method, no one knows. Xiren is his son. Maybe he has the same method, Si Tuyen said. Isn't this too risky? Would sect master allow Xiren to take such a risk? Mu Lingbing didn't understand. Even if sect leader had such an experience in the past, it must have been under special circumstances. Xiren was his only son. Why would he allow him to take such risks? Si Tuyen shook his head. You don't know much about sect master Wen's character. He's an opportunist. He believes that cultivators should wander around and experience risks. This was the only way to reach a higher level of cultivation. This was the reason why sect master rarely encountered bottlenecks in his cultivation over the years. Based on my understanding of him, it's definitely possible for him to allow Xiren to go to Penglai Island. Lan Yunxiao and the others looked at each other and no longer doubted Si Tuyen. Among them, Si Tuyen was the one who understood sect master Wen's situation the most. Since Si Tuyen spoke so confidently, it must be close to the truth. Linfeng, how many days has it been since we last saw Xiren and the others? Nan Gongwu couldn't help but ask. Chapter 29:16. If that's the case, then they've already gone far. I'm afraid we won't be able to catch up even if we want to. Nan Gongwu's expression turned ugly. She really didn't want to see Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen in danger. Their future was uncertain, and it was hard to say whether they could return. Lan Yunxiao and the rest sank into silence. With Di Beichen's group of 4 speed, they had already gone far in 3 days. No matter what, we still have to go and look for them. Lan Yunxiao's voice was heavy, but his eyes were filled with determination and persistence. In the next second, Yu Linfeng and Lan Yunxiao quickly walked down the mountain. Even though they already knew, they were still unwilling to give up hope. Perhaps Di Beichen's group had just left, and they could still find them. Situ, what do you plan to do if we can't find Yixuan and the rest? Mu Jin's turned to look at Si Tuyen. Things had already exceeded their expectations, so they needed to carefully consider what to do next. Si Tuyen's usually calm face revealed a complicated expression. He looked again at the letter Bailey Hongzhuang left behind. His gaze was distant and calm as he looked at the rising sun. He slowly said, perhaps Hongzhuang's decision wasn't wrong. They have their own lives. Perhaps we've underestimated their strength. Mu Jin nodded. Whether it's Yixuan or Di Beichen, they have always had their own opinions. In fact, the two of them have always done things that we old fellows haven't been able to do all these years. Perhaps they will bring us even greater surprises and miracles. Mu Lingbing looked at Sidu Yen and Mu Jintze in astonishment. Father, mother, you mean we're just going to let them go like this? They've already made their decision. Even if we stop them, they will still go. Since the children have already made up their minds, the only thing we can do as their elders is to support them. Sidu Yen sighed faintly. He couldn't help but think of Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang. These two children were his pride. He had watched Di Beichen grow up and knew Di Beichen's character very well. Although their cultivation was still lacking, since they dared to go, they must have a certain level of confidence. He believed that God would not mistreat them. Hearing this, Mu Lingbing fell silent, her eyes turning red. She and Hongzhuang had only known each other for a short period of time, and now they were separated again. Most importantly, she did not know if she would have the chance to see her daughter and son-in-law again in the future. Lan Yunxiao and Yu Linfeng went out to search for a long time. When they returned 3 days later, they couldn't help revealing a trace of dejection. I can't find it. There was no trace of Bailey Hongzhuang's group in the vicinity. There were many routes to Penglai Island. They had no way to confirm which route Bailey Hongzhuang's group had taken, so it was impossible to chase after them. After Lan Yunxiao returned, he planned to pack his luggage. He also wanted to head to Penglai Island to investigate. Perhaps he could find Bailey Hongzhuang's group there. However, Lan Yunxiao was stopped by Sidu Yen. There was no need. Since Bailey Hongzhuang's group of 4 had already set off, if they continued to chase after them, it would just be more people taking the risk. Chapter 29:17. Lan Yunxiao was originally unwilling, but after hearing Sidu Yen's words, he remained silent for a long time before finally nodding his head. In his heart, he couldn't help but hope that Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen could return safely. Otherwise, he would definitely regret it for the rest of his life. Bailey Hongzhuang's group of 4 headed towards Penglai Island. However, Penglai Island was very far away. Even with their speed, it would inevitably take them a long time. The 4 of them trekked through mountains and rivers. If they had a flying beast, they would ride it. If they didn't, they could only rely on their own strength. Fortunately, the 4 of them weren't spoiled people and were very used to this kind of trekking through mountains and rivers. With the 4 of them traveling together, it was a lot more fun. In the mountain range, Di Beichen and Xiren were catching fish and hunting demonic beasts respectively. Bailey Hongzhuang and Shangguan Yingying were preparing to roast fish and meat later. Fortunately, we brought enough seasoning. Otherwise, if we kept eating dry rations in this mountain range, it would really be tasteless. Shangguan Yingying chuckled. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. Looking at the blue sky, white clouds, and crystal-clear lake, a trace of a smile appeared on her lips. If we weren't worried about Beichen's health, this trip would really be like a scenic tour. It's very comfortable. With the increase in her cultivation, Bailey Hongzhuang no longer needed to be as careful as before when walking in this mountain range. As long as they didn't encounter the peak demonic beasts in this mountain range, they wouldn't be in any danger. Thus, it was a completely different mentality. That's true. Shangguan Yingying faintly smiled. In the past, whenever we went out to train, it would always be Xiren and Beichen going together. Most of the time, I would stay in the sect to cultivate. At that time, I always wanted to go with Xiren and the others. Although they were covered in wounds every time they came back, they had also improved a lot. I could feel that not only had their strength improved, but also their spirit and personality had changed. Therefore, I always hoped to have the opportunity to go out with them and train. I thought that there would be no hope for me in this lifetime, but I didn't expect that there would be a chance now. It really makes me happy. Bailey Hongzhuang's dark and clear eyes flashed with surprise. Why didn't you go with them in the past? My cultivation method is more suitable for staying in the sect. Shangguan Yingying sighed, and her pretty face revealed a look of lament. Xiren's father is a cultivation maniac. Every time he takes Xiren to a place to cultivate, it is always very dangerous, unlike Sect Master Situ, who is more peaceful. However, he often communicates with Sect Master Situ, So Xiren and Beichen have always been cultivating with sect Master Situ during this period of time, and with Xiren's father during this period of time. From Xiren's current appearance, it's really hard to imagine that he spent his childhood like that. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved into a faint smile. Xiren had always been smiling mischievously, but now it seemed that his serious appearance was very different from usual. Isn't Beichen the same? Shangguan Yingying asked back. That's right. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang and Shangguan Yingying were talking, Xiren's voice came from behind. Chapter 29:18. Do I need your help to catch fish? I've already caught it. Beichen slowly walked out of the river, looking at the proud Xiren behind him, his handsome face full of smiles. Seeing that he had nothing to show off, Xiren curled his lips. Whether it's catching fish or birds, I'm good at it. It's a pity that I don't have a chance to show off. Then I'll leave this task to you in the future, so you can perform well. Ah. Xiren was stunned. Forget it, I can't take all the limelight. A good brother should share half of it with you. Beichen and Xiren quickly processed the fish and meat, then handed it over to Bailey Hongzhuang and Shangguan Yingying. The two women also began to get busy. Our speed is already quite fast. However, the Shengxian continent is truly not small. At this rate, I'm afraid we'll need another half a month to reach the southernmost region. When Xiren sighed, Beichen nodded slightly. Penglai Island is a place that transcends the Shengxian continent. In order to not be discovered by ordinary people, it should be located so far away. Speaking of which, I'm really curious about what kind of place it is. It's obviously a transcendent existence, but there are so few people who know about it. I've heard some things from my old man. The reason why no one has discovered Penglai Island is because it's a very, very far away island. As long as the average person's brain isn't squeezed by the door, they won't go there. However, Penglai Island is very large. It's not just an island but a combination of many islands. The largest island is called Penglai Island. My old man was very interested when he found out about the existence of such an existence. He set off in a fit of passion, but his luck is very good. He found some opportunities there, so he hoped that I would go and take a look. So, we still have to travel by water for a while. Beichen said. This section of the waterway is the most important. When Xiren nodded, his expression turning serious, when we were in the Shengxian continent, most of the demonic beasts we encountered were on land. In fact, the number of demonic beasts in the sea is no less than that on land. Plus, not many people pass through that area, so the number of demonic beasts there is naturally even more astonishing. We don't have much experience at sea, so we need to be extra careful when we pass through that area. My old man specially reminded me of this. Hearing Xiren's words, Beichen's face flashed with a hint of seriousness. He hadn't thought of this before. Since Sect Master Wen specially reminded us, it seems that this place is really dangerous. We have to be prepared. In my opinion, the other things are fine. The most important thing is to learn how to swim first. Otherwise, once you encounter a demonic beast in the sea and you're a non-swimmer, it'll be really troublesome. Xiren sighed. In the next second, Beichen's gaze froze on Xiren's body. Are you talking about yourself? As soon as these words came out, Xiren was also stunned. I don't know how to swim, but I shouldn't be the only one who doesn't know how to swim, right? Chapter 29:19. Seeing the appearance of Bailey Hongzhuang, when Xiren was like seeing a life-saving straw, and quickly asked, Hongzhuang, can you swim? The sudden news made Bailey Hongzhuang slightly stunned, then nodded and said, yes, what's wrong? She could swim since she was a child, but she rarely had the opportunity to swim. With Bailey Hongzhuang's voice falling, when Xiren could not help but wail and fall to the ground with a loud bang. Heavens, could it be that the only person in the world who can't swim is me, an extraordinarily handsome man? Seeing when Xiren suddenly say such words, Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Beichen in confusion, not understanding what this meant. Shangguan Yingying also looked like she didn't understand. When we go to Penglai Island, we have to go through a long waterway, and there are monsters in the sea, so, Beichen looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and Bailey Hongzhuang with deep meaning. Bailey Hongzhuang and Shangguan Yingying immediately understood. If it was just an ordinary sea, even if the cultivator himself was not good at water, there would not be any problem with his cultivation. However, there were monsters in the sea, so the situation was much more complicated. Most of them didn't have much contact with the monsters in the sea, and the information they learned was often learned from the scrolls. However, no matter which book told them the same content, that the monsters in the sea were more dangerous than the monsters on land, because the monsters in the sea had the advantage in the sea. Once encountering a powerful monster, it was definitely not a simple thing to pass through easily. On the contrary, their life may be in danger at any time. Even with their cultivation, they couldn't guarantee their safety, because the lifespan of the monsters in the sea was often very long, and Penglai Island was uninhabited. The monsters there were almost no other dangers except for their natural enemies, so whether it was the number or the strength, they were probably very terrifying. Under such circumstances, it would be really bad if they could not swim. So, before we go to Penglai Island, there is one more important thing. That is, we have to teach Xiren how to swim, right? Bailey Hongzhuang said with a smile. Shangguan Yingying's face showed a touch of helplessness. I was wondering why I felt that Xiren was a little strange recently. It turns out that he was worried about this. Learning to swim is not a difficult task. I should be able to learn it very quickly. Don't worry. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. It's just that we're going to the deep sea, so we have to make use of this time to practice more. However, after hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Bewitching, Shangguan Yingying, and Wen Xiren all shook their heads. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but wonder, what did I say wrong? If he really learned to swim so easily, he wouldn't have such an expression now. Shangguan Yingying sighed. I really don't know what to do about this. Bewitching pulled Bailey Hongzhuang to sit beside him and said, Xiren is a natural landlubber. He has no problem doing other things, but when it comes to the water, he can't swim at all. When he was young, Yingying and I spent a lot of effort to teach him to swim, but now he is still like this. Chapter 29:20. The river is so shallow, of course I can catch fish. If it's in the sea, then... When Xiren scratched his head. The more he spoke, the more guilty he felt. His voice also became softer and softer. Then what should we do? Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but frown. She really didn't expect Wen Xiren to have such a weakness. After so many years, he still hadn't learned to swim. Perhaps his fear of water wasn't just a little bit. Bewitching patted Wen Xiren's shoulder. Let's find a place where the river is deeper. You should learn to swim well. This time, you really can't escape. Bewitching, why do I have a bad feeling when I hear your words? Bewitching smiled faintly. Don't worry, I'll be very gentle. When he said the word, gentle, Bewitching deliberately deepened his tone. However, Wen Xiren couldn't help but shiver. This was definitely not good news. Shangguan Yingying couldn't help but chuckle. Bewitching, you don't have to be so polite to Xiren. I think we were too gentle to him in the past. That's why he hasn't been able to learn to swim. This time, let's just be ruthless. Who knows, maybe he'll learn. Yingying, why are you so cruel to me? Wen Xiren clutched his chest and looked at Shangguan Yingying with heartache. It was as if he couldn't believe that these words had come out of her mouth. Shangguan Yingying, however, didn't care and continued to eat her grilled fish. We're already very tight on time. You should be ashamed that you've made such a mistake. If we still treat you like we did in the past, who knows how long it'll take you to learn. Hearing this, a serious look appeared in Xiren's eyes. This time, I really have to learn how to swim. Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three set off after filling their stomachs. Now, the most important thing for them wasn't to hurry, but to let Wen Xiren learn how to swim. Chapter 29:21. Following that, Bailey Hongzhuang and Shangguan Yingying occasionally heard Xiren's cries and rejections coming from the pool. However, the three people present ignored him. Bewitching, who had always been calm in the past, after hearing Shangguan Yingying and Bailey Hongzhuang's suggestions, he also used an iron fist method on Xiren. He did not allow Wen Xiren to refuse at all. It was as if he wanted to teach Wen Xiren how to swim in the shortest time possible. Although Xiren kept saying that he did not want to learn, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two also understood that this was probably the time when Wen Xiren was most determined. when Xiren was bound to go to Penglai Island. Therefore, learning how to swim was also an inevitable hurdle. On this point, when Xiren had already made up his mind when he decided to go to Penglai Island. However, he still could not learn after so many years. This knot in his heart was obviously not simple. Although Bewitching and the other two said that they wanted when Xiren to learn how to swim as soon as possible, in fact, everyone had enough patience. From the moment they decided to embark on this path together, they were already partners in life and death. No matter what kind of things, they would bear it together. Bewitching taught Xiren how to swim. Shangguan Yinging also went to help from time to time. Bailey Hongzhuang cultivated with the three beasties on the shore. When it was time to eat, the three beasties volunteered to go catch prey. The strength of the three of them now was not comparable to ordinary monsters. Moreover, with Baisher, the Beast King, there was no need to worry at all. Xiren, what are you afraid of in the water? Shangguan Yinging saw that Xiren had no results after learning for a few days and could not help but frown and mutter. In other aspects, Xiren's learning speed had always been very fast. However, once in the water, when Xiren had no ability to learn at all. I don't know either. Xiren's face was bitter, his eyes filled with melancholy and helplessness. My reputation in this lifetime is going to be ruined by swimming. Everyone felt helpless. Originally, everyone thought that Xiren had a knot in his heart because of water, but he was unwilling to say it out loud. However, after some understanding, they realized that when Xiren did not have a knot in his heart, but he was afraid of water. Water was Xiren's natural enemy. I don't know if Father asked you to go to Penglai Island on purpose. If you want to go, you must overcome your fear of water. Shangguan Yinging sighed. Bewitching patted Xiren's shoulder. These days, they felt very helpless, but the most depressed person was Xiren. Don't be too anxious. We still have plenty of time. Take it slow and there will be progress. Bailey Hongzhuang also nodded. I believe that you will be able to learn. Don't be anxious. Xiren looked at Bewitching and Bailey Hongzhuang apologetically. The more they said this, the more embarrassed Xiren felt. If there was no time limit, he naturally did not seem to be anxious. However, Bewitching's body conditions still existed, and there was not enough time to begin with. Now that they had not arrived at Penglai Island, they had no idea what might happen on Penglai Island. Chapter 29-22. The reason why Shangguan Yinging was so anxious was also because of this reason. It was simply because she expected better from him. Don't worry, I will definitely learn it as soon as possible. When Xiren said in a deep voice. His pitch-black and bright eyes were filled with determination. Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching looked at each other and smiled. They both believed that Xiren would definitely be able to overcome this difficulty. At night, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three were all working hard to cultivate. Now, they had already replaced sleep with cultivation. Their cultivation was completely at the bottom of the Penglai Island. As long as they could increase their cultivation by a little, it would be extremely good for them. After all, if their cultivation was a little stronger, they would be able to have a little more protection. Originally, Bewitching and Bailey Hongzhuang's cultivation was a little stronger than Xiren and Bewitching's cultivation. This was because Bewitching and Shangguan Yinging had absorbed enough energy in the divine pond of ice and snow to successfully step into the purple realm. However, Xiren and Shangguan Yinging were not ordinary people. Before this, they also had a certain amount of opportunities. This time, after they returned to the Cloud Sword sect, their cultivation had once again increased a little. Therefore, the four of them were now at the 3rd level of the Purple Realm. There was still a gap of 2 levels from the 5th level of the Purple Realm. At this level of cultivation, it would take a long time to increase 1 level. However, other than bitterly cultivating, everyone had no other way. They could only try their best to increase their cultivation. The next day, when Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two left their cultivation state, they discovered that when Xiren was actually not with them. The three of them looked at each other and a hint of surprise appeared in their eyes. Turning their gazes, the three of them discovered that Xiren had unknowingly started practicing holding his breath in the pond. Obviously, he wanted to suppress his fear of water. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two were stunned, but their eyes gradually softened. Xiren, you're up early. Bewitching laughed and jumped into the pool. When Xiren smiled faintly. I don't believe that I can't overcome this obstacle. It will affect my usual image too much. Everyone's heart was slightly moved. They could all see that Xiren was forcing himself. There was a touch of guilt in Shangguan Yingying's eyes, and she couldn't help but murmur, Hongzhuang, was I too harsh and impatient? Actually, Xiren didn't want it to be like this. Xiren knows what you're thinking. He's not a petty person. Bailey Hongzhuang comforted Shangguan Yingying. Don't worry. This kind of thing has to be done step by step. He hasn't overcome it for so many years. The obstacles in his heart are getting bigger and bigger. Even if he wants to overcome it now, it's not something that can be done in a short time. Shangguan Yingying nodded. I shouldn't criticize him anymore. Looking at Shangguan Yingying like this, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes flashed with a hint of a smile. Although Shangguan Yingying usually had the image of a tigress that Xiren had described, after interacting with her for a while, she understood that Shangguan Yingying was just a person with a sharp tongue but a soft heart. Although she always said all kinds of bad things about Xiren, she was still thinking about Xiren in her heart. Her heart was very soft. Since she could see this point, when Xiren naturally had a deeper understanding of this point. Chapter 29-23. Ever since then, when Xiren had been working hard to overcome his fear of water. Gradually, his progress was noticed by everyone. At the very least, when Xiren was now very familiar with water and no longer felt unfamiliar or fearful. Seeing this change, everyone's hearts leaped with joy. It seemed that success was not far away. On this day, when Xiren's head popped out of the water and excitedly shouted to Shangguan Yingying, Yingying, I've learned it. Shangguan Yingying could not help but hurriedly stand up and look at when Xiren's swimming in the pool. Her face was full of joy. It's true. You've really learned it. Bewitching's face was full of smiles as he stood beside when Xiren. The bright sunlight shone on the two strong and handsome figures, and the water droplets reflected a bright and resplendent light. However, none of this could compare to the brilliance of their smiles. Xiren, you're amazing. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and gave Xiren a thumbs up. When Xiren stroked his hair proudly and raised his chin 45 degrees, saying, Of course, I'm a handsome man who can do anything. If when Xiren had said such a thing under normal circumstances, everyone would have laughed at him. However, at this moment, everyone let him be. After when Xiren had mastered the skill of swimming, he had become the most interested in water among the four of them. Usually, when they were hurrying along, as long as there was a river at the place where they were stationed, when Xiren would definitely go back and swim. From time to time, he would sigh and lament that he could not understand why he was afraid of water in the past. He only felt that it was inconceivable that something like that had happened to him in the past. In this regard, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two were also silent. This guy was also the most shameless person in the world. Under such continuous practice, when Xiren's swimming skills became better and better, everyone no longer had to worry that when Xiren would be in danger because he was not good at swimming. Finally, under the relentless haste of the four people, they successfully arrived at the extreme south. Looking at the vast ocean in front of them, a hint of surprise and confusion appeared on the faces of the four of them at the same time. Even though they already knew that this would be a very large sea area, they could only see the boundless sea in front of them. They couldn't see any further than that. They only felt like they were in a sea of clouds. As far as the eye could see, not a single island could be seen. Only the azure sea water and a vast expanse of white fog could be seen in the distance. I don't know how long it will take for us to reach Penglai Island. Shangguan Yingying stared blankly at the sea of clouds in front of her. It seemed that the distance between Penglai Island and the island was really far. We can't determine the exact time. We can only take one step at a time, Bewitching said in a deep voice. Stepping onto this sea would be a brand new journey for them. What are you afraid of? Back then, my old man set off alone without caring about anything. The four of us are much more prepared than my old man back then. All these years, my old man always felt that my ability was not enough. I'll take this opportunity to let him understand my true strength. In the next second, when Xiren directly took out a golden-silver ship from his Qiankuan bag. Chapter 29-24. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were immediately attracted by the ship. The material was extraordinary. Is the hull made of mithril? Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but ask. Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang's words, when Xiren's eyes lit up and he gave Bailey Hongzhuang a thumbs up. I didn't know you were an expert. This mithril is mixed with some deep-sea black gold, which greatly enhances the stability of the hull. The ability to break the waves is also excellent. Such a ship is really a weapon when drifting on the sea. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were full of admiration. Although they had also prepared a ship, it was completely different from the ship that Xiren had taken out. At least, with such a ship, even if they were attacked by demon beasts, they didn't need to worry about the hull being destroyed. It greatly increased their safety. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang see through all the mysteries of the ship, Xiren's eyes flashed with a thick color of surprise. This ship was given to me by my old man before I left. In order to give us a little more protection, what you said is really the same as my old man. Before my old man introduced it, I didn't know that this ship had so many benefits. How did you see it? Xiren's handsome face was full of curiosity. Bailey Hongzhuang's words really surprised him. There are many things that you don't know. My wife's ability is not something that an ordinary person like you can understand. Bewitching joked. Xiren's face fell. You are simply a wife slave. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. I have dabbled in inscription techniques, so I have some understanding of these rare metals. Xiren showed a look of understanding. He had long heard that Bailey Hongzhuang was a multi-talented person, and many of her abilities were beyond the scope of understanding. They could only be said to be geniuses in cultivation, but Bailey Hongzhuang was a genius in many aspects. Let's go. Xiren took the lead to step on the ship, and then extended his hand to Shangguan Yinging. Shangguan Yinging also walked on the ship. Bewitching and Bailey Hongzhuang walked on the ship together, and the three beasts followed behind. The four people and three beasts began their days of drifting on the sea. The sea is boundless. As long as we keep going south, we should be able to reach Penglai Island. Xiren slowly said. In such a sea area, their ship was simply too small. That's right, Penglai Island is at the southernmost part of the Shengxian continent. Bewitching nodded. Xiren and I will be responsible for controlling the direction of the ship. Wife, you and Yinging should have a good rest. Bailey Hongzhuang and Shangguan Yinging both smiled and nodded. When you are tired, it's our turn. Us too. The three beasts were unwilling to be left out. It seems that we have sufficient manpower. Everyone chuckled, and the days of drifting on the sea began. The days of drifting on the sea were undoubtedly extremely boring. They were surrounded by seawater, and there was still no end in sight. There was no village in front of them, and there was no shop behind them. This feeling was really uncomfortable. However, the four of them were cultivators and had long been accustomed to rough days. Therefore, the environment that looked exactly the same every day did not drive them crazy. Chapter 29-25. During this period of time, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had also fought with the demonic beasts. Just as they had expected, the demonic beasts in the sea were very powerful and their numbers were very large. Once they were entangled with a group of demonic beasts, it would be a huge problem. Even with Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three's cultivation, they had suffered heavy injuries when they encountered a group of demonic beasts. Fortunately, the hull of the ship was sturdy enough. Otherwise, the demonic beasts would have broken it and the four's situation would have been even more dangerous. On the surface of the sea, once they fought, the demonic beasts would have the upper hand because they could dive into the sea at any time. It could be said that the enemy was in the dark while they were in the light. They had to be vigilant at all times to guard against the enemy's sneak attack. This was undoubtedly very tiring and exhausting. Even with Bailey Hongzhuang and the other threes taking turns to watch over them, it was still an extremely tiring task. There were very few people heading towards Penglai Island. Hence, these demonic beasts had treated Bailey Hongzhuang and the other threes as delicious food and had their eyes fixed on them at all times. Bailey Hongzhuang and the other threes could be said to be transitioning from one demonic beast's territory to the next. They were really helpless. As the king of the land, the white lion's aura had a certain effect. However, it was far less effective than when it was in the mountains. On the contrary, once the white lion released its aura, it could easily attract some extremely powerful demonic beasts to compete with it. This caused Bailey Hongzhuang and the others to fall into an even more dangerous situation. It was really frustrating. It seems that we have underestimated the terror of the demonic beasts in the sea. Xiren sighed faintly. Thinking back to when they had just started drifting on the sea, it was still all right and there were not many problems. However, as they gradually went deeper, the demonic beast's powers continued to increase. He could only feel that under the seemingly calm sea, there were countless demonic beasts piled up. He finally understood why only cultivators of the 5th level of the Purple Realm and above could enter Penglai Island. In fact, cultivators who had not reached this level of cultivation would never be able to cross the sea, let alone reach Penglai Island. The number of these demonic beasts is too shocking. Once we encounter a group of demonic beasts, it's like poking a hornet's nest. Just thinking about it makes me scared. Shangguan Yingying shrunk her neck, as if she was thinking about being attacked by a group of demonic beasts a few days ago. If they were on land, even if they encountered a group of monstrous beasts, they still had a way to escape. However, on the surface of the sea, there was really no other way except to barge through. I don't know. How much longer until we reach Penglai Island? Recently, the Yao beasts we encounter are getting stronger and stronger. Thankfully, these powerful Yao beasts do not appear often. Most of them are probably cultivating themselves, otherwise our situation would be much worse. Bailey Hongzhuang's ink-black eyes flickered with a sigh. She felt that they had finally come into contact with the true power of the Shengxian continent. Ever since she had transmigrated, she had always felt that the Shengxian continent was much weaker than it was 1,000 years ago. But now, it seemed that it was not that the Shengxian continent's power had weakened, but that all the powerhouses had moved to one place. Even though she had yet to reach Penglai Island, she could tell how powerful Penglai Island was from the current situation. Chapter 29-26. Bewitching's handsome and resolute face flashed with a dignified look. With their current strength, if they were to encounter a group of monsters again, it would be really dangerous. Most importantly, as they ventured deeper into the forest, the strength of these demonic beasts continued to increase. The demonic beasts' sneak attacks and ability to hide their auras were not comparable to the demonic beasts they had encountered before. If they were slightly careless and were ambushed, it could attract other underwater monsters. It was no different from poking a hornet's nest. In my opinion, we should upgrade from 1 person to 2 people guarding this place. The Yao beasts here are getting more and more cunning. It's safer this way, Wen Xiren suggested. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others nodded in agreement. With their cultivation, it was like walking on thin ice. If they were not careful, their lives would be in danger. Thinking about it, even a 5th-level Purple Realm cultivator might lose their life if they were to be surrounded by monsters here. However, in the process of continuous fighting, everyone's combat strength was constantly increasing. During this period of training, the speed of improvement was much faster than cultivating in the sect. Pain and happiness, this must be how it felt. On this day, Bailey Hongzhuang was cultivating when she suddenly heard Shangguan Yingying's exclamation. She couldn't help but open her eyes. Look, there seems to be a boat in front. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others couldn't help but look in the direction that Shangguan Yingying was pointing. In fact, they had been drifting on this sea for so long, but they had never seen anyone other than themselves. Sometimes, they even suspected that they were looking in the wrong direction. Otherwise, it would be too strange to not see anyone after drifting on the sea for half a month. Shangguan Yingying's voice couldn't help but give them a lot of hope. Being able to meet someone here at least proved that they were heading in the right direction. Bailey Hongzhuang looked carefully. Sure enough, there was a small boat in the distance. It looked very small in the vast sea, but it was visible at a glance. There really is someone here. Xiren's face showed a touch of surprise. After being here for so long, we finally see other people. It's really not easy. The people here are stronger than us in cultivation. We still don't know if they are friends or enemies. We should be careful. Bewitching was not so optimistic. Instead, his face sank. As Bewitching's voice fell, the smile on Xiren's face also faded a little. He also remembered his old man's reminder before they set off. There were many powerhouses on Penglai Island. Almost everyone had their own trump cards to succeed. It was because they were all powerhouses, the competition was particularly fierce. Compared to the cruelty of Penglai Island, the things that Xiren had experienced in the past were nothing. After arriving at Penglai Island, don't believe everything that anyone says. Otherwise, you will definitely suffer a great loss. As long as we are sure that there are people here, it means that we are heading in the right direction. Then there is no need to worry. In my opinion, we should not have any interaction with the other party and go our own way. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly said. Then let's do that. Chapter 29-27. The boat gradually grew from the size of a sesame seed to the size of a tangerine. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others could see it more clearly, but they still did not know the situation of the other party. Just then, Baisher wrinkled his nose and said, "There's a strong smell of blood." As soon as these words came out, the faces of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others changed a bit. As a mystical beast, Baisher's nose has always been very sensitive. Since it had said this, it could not be wrong. The smell of blood? Shengguan Yingying furrowed her brows as a puzzled look flashed across her pretty little face. Could it be that there's internal strife and they're killing each other? Baisher shook his head. The smell of blood is very strong. If it's only a few people killing each other, there wouldn't be such a strong smell of blood. That means that the other party must be fighting against the mystical beasts. Perhaps they've been attacked by a horde of mystical beasts. Bailey Hongzhuang pondered for a moment before speaking slowly. Hearing this, Baisher nodded and said, "That's very likely." So the other party is in trouble. Being surrounded and attacked by a horde of mystical beasts in a place like this is not a good feeling at all. Xiren sighed emotionally. If it was possible, he would never want to experience the feeling of running into a horde of mystical beasts again. Then what should we do now? If we continue forward, those mystical beasts might treat us as a team and attack us together. Shengguan Yingying's expression turned ugly. Even though she did not know what kind of mystical beasts they were, she knew that they would not be easy to deal with. However, even if we continue to stay here, once those mystical beasts finish off the fellow on the boat, we'll still be attacked as long as we pass through that area of the sea. Xiren said in a low voice. Based on their understanding during this period of time, they discovered that as long as the smell of blood wafted out, the mystical beasts in the sea would become excited. The chances of them being attacked would also greatly increase. Let's continue to move closer and see the situation before we make a decision. Bewitching's pitch-black eyes flickered with a wise and calm light. They were still uncertain about the situation and could only take one step at a time. All right. Xiren nodded and continued to steer the small boat forward. As they gradually approached, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others could see the situation in front of them more clearly. As it turned out, there were a total of 2 cultivators on the ship, and they were currently fighting to their heart's content. A thick smell of blood spread out from the 2 of them. The clear seawater nearby had already been dyed red. Even though they were still some distance away, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other 3 could see the terrifying number of demonic beasts. This should be an aquamarine thornfish. Its combat ability is comparable to a cultivator of the first level of the Purple Realm. In addition to the fact that the cultivator's combat ability is restricted by the sea, the aquamarine thornfish's combat ability is comparable to a cultivator of the second level of the Purple Realm. An entire school of aquamarine thorns had appeared here. It was simply too terrifying. Xiren couldn't help but exclaim. This situation was a little too terrifying. Once he was entangled by the school of aquamarine bramblefish, there was only a slim chance of survival. How did these 2 guys provoke the Shanghai blue thorns? This is too unlucky. Shengguan Yingying sighed. This was simply a nightmare for cultivators. Chapter 29-28. The other party's strength should have just reached Purple Realm level 5. After fighting for so long, they're starting to show signs of fatigue. If this goes on, their lives might be in danger. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the situation not far away and made a judgment. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three were looking ahead, the two people who were exhausted from dealing with the aquamarine brambles noticed them approaching. Excitement surfaced on their faces, and they immediately asked Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three for help. "Friends, please help us. These aquamarine brambles love to feed on human flesh. As soon as they discover a human passing by, they'll attack in groups. Why don't we work together to get rid of these aquamarine brambles? It won't be bad for you." The two people looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three anxiously, hoping that Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three could help. Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three looked at each other, feeling conflicted. They had some information about the aquamarine brambles, but they only knew about their strength and did not know much about their temperament. In fact, most of what Bailey Hongzhuang and the others knew was the wicked beasts on land. They knew little about the wicked beasts in the deep sea. At this moment, listening to the words of the two people, they didn't know whether it was true or false. However, if they worked together, it would not be too difficult to get rid of these aquamarine brambles. Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three were not worried about this. Instead, they were worried that once they made a move, their cultivation would be unintentionally exposed. Originally, the four of them had the means to conceal their strength. As long as they did not make a move, others would not be able to determine their cultivation. This was also one of the reasons why they dared to go to Penglai Island. If they could not conceal their aura, they would be no different from sitting ducks on Penglai Island. At this level of cultivation, almost no one would take them seriously. If they wanted to make a move, they could do so as they pleased. Now that the other party was in danger, their attitude towards them was naturally very good. However, once their cultivations were exposed and the threat of the blue thorns fish was gone, they did not know if the other party would have any ill intentions. However, just as Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three were pondering over this question, they suddenly realized that the bottom of their boat had suffered a heavy blow. Bang! A huge force attacked the bottom of their boat, as if trying to overturn their boat. Not good. The sea blue thorns are still attacking us. Xiren's expression changed. He could see the sea blue thorns underwater through the seawater. Seeing this, Bewitching and Bailey Hongzhuang looked at each other and couldn't help but say, "It seems that we have no other choice." Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. "We can only take one step at a time. Fortunately, there are only two of them." Hearing this, when Xiren and Shangguan Yingying also understood. There were only two of them. Even if their cultivation was at Purple Realm level 5, the four of them might still be able to fight back if they worked together. At this moment, Bewitching said to the other two, "All right, let's work together." The two of them could not help but sigh in relief when they heard Bewitching's words. "That's great." Vigorous origin energy exploded from Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three at the same time. They all took out their weapons and attacked the sea blue thorns underwater. Chapter 29-29. The four of them were only at the third level of the Purple Realm, which was only one level higher than the aquamarine brambles. It wasn't a problem to deal with these aquamarine brambles in a short period of time, but once they were surrounded, they would have to be extra careful. "Don't worry." Xiren raised his head. His handsome and gentle face was full of confidence. Although they were only at the third level of the Purple Realm, as the young sect master of the Cloud Sword sect, his strength was not something an ordinary third level of the Purple Realm could compare to. "Bewitching, why don't we compete to see who can kill more aquamarine brambles?" Xiren chuckled. Bewitching pierced the aquamarine bramble's body with his sword, then turned around and replied, "Sure." Seeing that the two of them could still hold such a relaxed attitude at this time, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips could not help but reveal a smile. Life was like this. What kind of attitude you use to look at life is what kind of life is like. At a time like this, the three beasts naturally wouldn't fall behind. They were also very good at things like fighting and killing. Although these fishes were very slippery and difficult to catch, it also aroused the competitive spirit in their hearts. Bailey Hongzhuang's colored glass sword pierced the body of an aquamarine bramble and took out the demon crystal in its body. Demon crystals had always been the white lion's food. The demon crystals of the demonic beasts in the sea were mostly sky blue, like sapphires. Under the illumination of the sun, it was very beautiful. However, after Bailey Hongzhuang took out the demon crystal, she unexpectedly discovered that there was actually another thing in the demonic beast's body. After Bailey Hongzhuang took it out, she discovered that it seemed to be a demonic beast's gallbladder, but it was emitting a rich aura of origin energy. This was not among the demonic beasts she had encountered before. It was really strange. What is this? Bailey Hongzhuang narrowed her eyes. A look of contemplation flashed in her eyes. Could it be that this was something unique to the demonic beasts in the sea? However, this didn't seem right. This was because none of the demonic beasts they had killed before had such a thing. Why was that? With that thought in mind, Bailey Hongzhuang immediately attacked another sea blue thornfish to find out if all sea blue thornfish had such a gall in their bodies. When the second blue thornfish died at the hands of Bailey Hongzhuang, she found a demon crystal and a beast's gallbladder in the body of the other blue thornfish. Bailey Hongzhuang immediately put the items away. Now was obviously not the time to think about these problems. Getting rid of these blue thorns was the most important thing. After Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three joined the battle, the pressure on the other two was greatly reduced, and they finally had a chance to catch their breath. However, when the two of them noticed the battle between Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three, a strange look appeared in their eyes. We have to get rid of these sea blue thornfish as soon as possible. The smell of blood is spreading further and further. If this continues, I'm afraid it will attract other demonic beasts. Bewitching couldn't help but remind them when he saw that the two of them had slowed down after getting a chance to catch their breath. For demonic beasts, there was a clear division of territories. This area obviously belonged to the sea blue thornfish, so they didn't encounter other demonic beasts. Chapter 29:30. The only thing they could do now was to get rid of these aquamarine brambles as soon as possible and leave this place as soon as possible. That was the safest way. The two nodded after hearing Bewitching's words and replied, "We understand." As the 6 of them and the 3 beasts killed, the number of aquamarine brambles rapidly decreased. After seeing how powerful Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest were, the aquamarine brambles no longer had their previous vigor. Even their attacking speed had decreased a little, as if they no longer had the courage to continue fighting. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest heaved a sigh of relief. This level of battle was quite taxing on them. If they continued fighting like this, even if they killed all the aquamarine brambles, they would definitely fall into a weakened state. If they were attacked by other monsters at this time, it would undoubtedly be very dangerous. Now that the aquamarine brambles had chosen to retreat, it was undoubtedly for the best. When the first aquamarine bramble chose to retreat, the other aquamarine brambles stopped their attacks and gradually retreated to the bottom of the sea. Let's take this opportunity to leave quickly. Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest made a prompt decision and steered the boat forward. The sooner they left this place, the safer they would be. When Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest rowed the boat to the 2 men, they realized that they were cultivators around the age of 30. However, when a cultivator's cultivation reached a certain level, the speed at which their appearance changed would greatly decrease. Therefore, although the 2 men looked to be in their 30s, their real age was very likely to be older than that. When the 2 men saw the appearance of Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest, a look of surprise flashed across their eyes. Especially when they saw Bailey Hongzhuang and Shangguan Yingying, they were even more stunned. "Thank you for your help. If it weren't for your help, us 2 brothers would have become food for the aquamarine brambles." The older of the 2 men spoke first. He cupped his fists towards Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest with gratitude on his face. "Brother, you don't have to be so courteous. We were just helping out. With your strength, it's only a matter of time before you get rid of these aquamarine brambles," replied Bewitching. "I'm sure the 4 of you are also heading to Penglai Island, right?" The man revealed a kind smile. "I thought us 2 brothers were already considered young, but after seeing the 4 of you, we feel ashamed. They could definitely be called geniuses among cultivators for reaching level 5 Purple Realm at their age. However, when they faced with Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest, they could even be called young and immature. They dared not call themselves geniuses. You're too kind. We are friends when we meet. This place is not far from Penglai Island. I wonder if you can save us until the end and give us a ride? The man spoke rather awkwardly. His expression revealed that he was in a bit of a difficult position. Hearing that, Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest noticed that the boat under their feet had started to leak water. The aquamarine bramble's attack was just too powerful. Even if their boat was not made of ordinary materials, it was still unavoidable for them to be destroyed. Chapter 29:31. The two brothers were obviously not stupid. After seeing the expressions of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, they understood what they were thinking and immediately explained. We brothers are not ungrateful people who don't know how to repay kindness. The four of you can rest assured. Presumably, this is your first time going to Penglai Island. There must be a lot of things you don't know about Penglai Island. The two of us can give you an introduction. Relying on friends when going out, isn't this the situation? Bewitching and Xiren thought for a moment, then nodded and said, "All right then." They made this choice because they had another concern. The two men's ship was obviously useless. Without a ship on the sea, it was tantamount to a dead end. If they disagreed, they would only force the other party to fight with them. Rather than that, it was better to give the other party a chance. Maybe the other party really did not have any bad intentions. After seeing Bewitching and Xiren agree, the two brothers' faces showed a touch of joy. They thanked them repeatedly. Thank you, thank you. You are really chivalrous." After the two men stepped on the ship, they looked at the hull and could not help but sigh. "I'm afraid the few of you have an extraordinary background. This ship is not ordinary at first glance. Our previous ship was specially made. I didn't expect it to be unable to withstand the destructive power of the aquamarine thornfish." Xiren smiled faintly and said, "I was just lucky to get this ship. I didn't expect it to come in handy here. I'm Gao Hanxia, and this is my brother Gao Hanxiu. May I know your names?" Dichen, Wenran, Shangguaning, Lanishuan. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others said their names one by one. This was something they had thought about before. Although Penglai Island did not have much contact with the forces in Shengxian continent, the four of them were quite famous in Shengxian continent. As long as the cultivators who went to Penglai Island later on, it was very likely that they would know their names. Once exposed, it would not be a good thing. It was better to hide a little more. "I see. How did the four of you find out about the existence of Penglai Island?" Gao Hanxia asked curiously. How did young Master Gao know about Penglai Island? Xiren did not answer Gao Hanxia's question. Instead, he asked a question of his own. "To tell you the truth, there is another big brother above me and third brother. His name is Gao Hanchun. His cultivation talent is stronger than mine and third brother's. It was by chance that he came into contact with Penglai Island first. Later on, he sent a message telling third brother and me to set off for Penglai Island after we reached the 5th level of the Purple Realm. The reason why third brother and I were able to reach this level of cultivation was because of my big brother. Otherwise, it would have taken a long time for the two of us to cultivate to this level." Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three revealed a look of understanding on their faces, and they had a better impression of Gao Hanxia for being straightforward. "I see. In that case, young Master Gao has a big brother to take care of you on Penglai Island. It is undoubtedly excellent." Gao Hanxia nodded and a smile appeared on his face. "Yes, but my big brother also told us that Penglai Island is very dangerous. The four of you have to be careful when you go there. Young Master Gao, do you know what this is?" Chapter 29:32. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang take out the beast gallbladder, Bewitching and the other two's eyes also lit up. They also discovered this point and were also very curious in their hearts, but they were busy dealing with the sea blue thornfish and didn't have time to talk about it. Gao Hanxia saw the thing in Bailey Hongzhuang's hand and couldn't help but smile. "It seems that you guys really don't know much about Penglai Island. This thing is called the gallbladder, which is the monster beast's gallbladder. Since it's just a monster beast's gallbladder, why does it have such a strong aura of origin power? You guys don't know. The Purple Realm is a watershed for both human cultivators and monster beasts. Once you cross into the Purple Realm, It's a completely different realm. As long as the monster beast breaks through to the purple realm, the gallbladder in its body will transform into an origin gallbladder, which is condensed from origin power. The function of the origin gallbladder is similar to that of the monster crystal. It's used by the monster beast to condense power, but the monster crystal can often only be used to refine pills or inscription techniques. It's not much help to human cultivators, but this origin gallbladder can help a cultivator improve their cultivation. It's really a good thing. Listening to Gao Hanxia's introduction, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three's faces flashed with a touch of surprise. They didn't know that the monster beast would have such a change after breaking through to the purple realm. Bailey Hongzhuang secretly sighed in her heart. It seemed that 1,000 years was really enough to change a lot. This monster beast had evolved a lot compared to before. In the past, monster beasts above the purple realm didn't have this origin gallbladder, so she was so surprised when she saw it. Young Master Gao, how do we absorb the energy of this origin gallbladder? When Xiren couldn't help but ask. This is very simple. As long as you hold it in your hand and operate the cultivation method, the energy will naturally be absorbed by us. The energy in the origin gallbladder is not as violent as that in the monster crystal, so we can absorb it very well. For us, hunting more monster beasts to obtain the origin gallbladder is also a good thing to improve our cultivation speed. According to my big brother, the reason why Penglai Island was established on an island is because the number of monsters in the sea area is extremely high. The number of monsters that have reached the purple realm and above is also much more than in the mountain range. It is the most convenient to obtain the guts here. I see. After listening to young Master Gao's introduction, we have really learned something new, Di Baichen said with a smile. Gao Hanxia waved his hand. Young Master Di, you are too polite. This is news that everyone on Penglai Island knows. You will naturally know when you reach Penglai Island. I am just telling you in advance. If it weren't for my big brother introducing us to these things, we would have come to Penglai Island in the dark. From the looks of it, your big brother should have stayed in Penglai Island for quite some time. He knows so much about Penglai Island, Shengguan Yingying said curiously. Currently, they knew very little about Penglai Island. Finally, they met someone who knew about Penglai Island. Naturally, they were eager to know more. Hearing Shengguan Yingying's question, Gao Hanxia's face showed a touch of pride. My big brother has stayed in Penglai Island for many years. Now, he has a certain amount of power on Penglai Island. The four of you must have gone to Penglai Island to train. However, Penglai Island is very dangerous. If you are interested, you can come with us to find my big brother. Chapter 29:33. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three quietly looked at each other. It seemed that their guess was right. Gao Hanxun did have a certain status on Penglai Island. However, they did not have any thoughts of seeking refuge from others. First, they had to go to the auction to find the 2 herbs that Di Baichen needed. As for the rest, they did not need to consider it for the time being. Bailey Hongzhuang and the other 2 did not agree, but they also did not refuse. After all, Gao Hanxia's suggestion was for their own good. No one knew what would happen after they went to Penglai Island. Gao Hanxia looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and the others' reaction and understood their thoughts. He did not say anything and just chatted with Bailey Hongzhuang and the others about other things. There are so few people going to Penglai Island. If we didn't meet you, we really don't know how to reach Penglai Island. Gao Hanxia smiled slightly. His face was full of emotion, but more importantly, there was a bit of joy. Xiren also smiled and nodded. We also found out about the existence of Penglai Island by chance. We only know that it is located in the extreme south, but we don't know the specific location. So we just kept going south. If we didn't meet you, we would have started to suspect that we were going in the wrong direction. So it turns out that we are not the only ones who have this idea. Gao Hanxia laughed. But we are all cultivators. We all know how difficult it is to break through to the 5th level of the Purple Realm. I think there are not many people going to Penglai Island every year. The faces of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others all showed a look of approval. If there were many people going to Penglai Island every day, it would be really incredible. After such a conversation, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three gradually became familiar with Gao Hanxia and the two brothers. They were not as repulsive as before, but they were still a little vigilant. Look, there seems to be an island in front. Bailey Hongzhuang looked ahead and saw an island appear on the wide and calm sea. She couldn't help but feel excited. As Bailey Hongzhuang finished speaking, everyone looked in the direction that Bailey Hongzhuang was pointing at. Their faces revealed joyful smiles. Is that Penglai Island? Shengguan Yingying asked doubtfully. Her soft and sweet voice was full of expectation. They had been drifting on the sea for such a long time, but this was the first time they had seen an island. That's not Penglai Island, Gao Hanxiu said. Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three looked at Gao Hanxiu. Obviously, Gao Hanxia and his brother, who knew more about Penglai Island, had the right to speak. Penglai Island is a very large island. Its size is not something that this island can compare to. Gao Hanxia smiled. However, according to my brother, as long as we see the first island, we will not be far from the real Penglai Island. Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three finally understood. No matter what, this was a good thing. After we reach the island, why don't we rest on the island for a while? Gao Hanxia suggested. Chapter 2934. Young Master One, there's something you don't know. Gao Hanxia's face revealed a simple and happy smile. This first island is called Monkey Island. There are many golden piebald monkeys living on it. These golden piebald monkeys are best at making wine. Therefore, any cultivator who passes by here will think of a way to get some monkey wine. It's said that the monkey wine is mellow and more delicious than the bejeweled nectar we usually taste. When we came here, my big brother didn't tell us anything. He only told us to remember to collect some monkey wine when we pass by Monkey Island. I wonder if you're interested in Monkey Island? If not, we won't go to the island. Gao Hanxia looked at the expressions of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. Their expressions were very clear. If it was just the two of them, they would have already gone to Monkey Island without hesitation. However, they were borrowing the boat of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. Therefore, there was no reason to force Bailey Hongzhuang and the others to go with them. I didn't expect this island to be so interesting. I've heard that some monkeys make monkey wine that is extremely mellow. However, it's rare to see it. Since there's a chance now, I naturally want to see it. Xiren was immediately interested. Although his alcohol tolerance wasn't very good, he also liked this wine. It seems that young Master Wen is also a kindred spirit. Seeing when Xiren agreed, the smiles on Gao Hanxia's and Xia's faces couldn't help but deepen. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others didn't have any objections. In fact, they had drifted on the sea for so long that they wanted to go ashore. Even if it was just to feel the touch of land, it was very good. These golden piebald monkeys aren't weak. They're around the blue realm. With our strength, it's more than enough to deal with them. However, we still have to be careful when we go to the island. Ever since the benefits of the monkey wine were discovered, people often came to Monkey Island to steal it. Therefore, these golden piebald monkeys have become smarter. They hate people like us who steal their wine. Gao Hanxia rubbed his head, clearly feeling a little helpless that he had to steal the monkey's wine. Seeing this scene, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others could not help but laugh softly. Looks like these gold essence piebald monkeys are very human-like. I'll really have to experience it later. Soon, the ship docked at Monkey Island. After everyone got off the boat, Xiren stored the boat into his Qiankuan bag. The monkeys here were very intelligent. If he left the boat at the shore, it might disappear at any time. As soon as they reached the shore, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others saw a lush scene. The trees here seemed to be particularly dense, and the smell of grass spread out into the nostrils of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, giving them a very familiar smell. The trees here seemed to be fruit trees. Shengguan Yingying looked at the many trees in front of her in surprise. The bright red peaches on the peach trees were very tempting. Xiao He and Xiao Bai casually plucked a few peaches and handed them to Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang took the peaches and handed them to Bewitching and the others. Everyone's eyes lit up when they tasted it. Chapter 2935. Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest who originally had some doubts towards Gao Hanxia and when Xiren's words, no longer had any doubts. This place was really a paradise for the gold essence piebald monkeys. Not long after Bailey Hongzhuang's group of 6 walked up, a sound attracted their attention. Gigi. Looking carefully, Bailey Hongzhuang's group of 6 immediately discovered that there were a few monkeys in front of them. These monkeys were about 1.5 meters tall and their movements were extremely agile. Their flexibility was no different from a human's. When these monkeys saw Bailey Hongzhuang's group of 6, they bared their teeth and immediately fled towards the back. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared from the sight of Bailey Hongzhuang's group of 6. These monkeys should have gone back to inform the main group. Gao Hanxia slowly said. Young Master Gao, do you know where this monkey wine is located? Xiren asked. Although these gold essence piebald monkeys are not very strong, but if the entire island is filled with these monkeys and they all attack together, it won't be easy for them to escape. This monkey wine is located in the center of this monkey island, which is also the nest of this monkey island. In my opinion, why don't you all wait here for us? Third brother and I will take the opportunity to steal the wine and immediately return after we steal the wine. With so many of us going together, I'm afraid that we will alert the enemy. Not only will we not be able to steal the wine, we may also be attacked by the group. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyebrows slightly wrinkled. These gold essence piebald monkeys have already noticed us. If we continue to stay here, won't there be trouble? Gao Hanxia shook his head and said, Don't worry, these gold essence piebald monkeys generally won't take the initiative to attack people. As long as you all don't do anything else, they will only secretly watch you from here and won't attack. When these words were said, Bailey Hongzhuang's group revealed a hesitant expression. These so-called gold essence piebald monkeys were a species unique to Penglai Island. They had never come into contact with them before. Therefore, they didn't know much about their temperament. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang's group of 4 didn't seem to believe him, Gao Hanxia continued, Why don't we all wait here together? In a while, you all will find out. Bailey Hongzhuang's group of 4 didn't reject Gao Hanxia's suggestion. The group immediately sat down on the spot. Not long after, they saw a group of gold essence piebald monkeys appear. They all stared at Bailey Hongzhuang's group but didn't go near them, but didn't move closer. And at the same time picked up another rock to throw a rock. Xiren. The monkey was being hit. Xiren caught the rock with one hand and didn't get hit. The monkey anxiously scratched its ears and head. It had an unwilling look on its face. Seeing this, Xiren couldn't help but chuckle, revealing his white and neat teeth. These monkeys are really fun. Their vengeful nature isn't small. These gold essence piebald monkeys are very timid. As long as you don't kill them, they won't attack. Gao Hanxia said. It seems like that is the case. Bewitching nodded. After observing for a while, he also discovered the characteristics of these gold essence piebald monkeys. Chapter 29:36. Young Master Gao, it's better if you all go. We'll wait for you here. Bewitching slowly said, With so many of us moving together, I'm afraid it won't be easy to steal the wine. Indeed, the fewer people going, the better. Gao Hanxia nodded and said to Gao Hanxiu, Third brother, why don't you wait for me here? I'll come back after stealing the wine. Won't it be dangerous for you to go alone? No, this monkey island is only so big. If I encounter any danger, it won't be too late for you all to come and help. It's better for me to move alone. Gao Hanxiu thought for a moment and said, All right then. Gao Hanxia took the lead and left. Just as he said, his departure didn't attract too much attention from the gold essence piebald monkeys. These monkeys still focused their attention on Bewitching's group of 5. Xiao He and Xiao Bai were happily picking peaches. These monkeys tasted very good. Recently, they had been sitting on the boat and eating dry rations. They didn't get to eat any fresh fruits. Now that they came to this monkey island, it wasn't in their nature to not take some peaches. When the gold essence piebald monkeys saw Xiao He and Xiao Bai unscrupulously picking peaches, they were obviously very unhappy. However, their timid nature made them afraid of Bailey Hongzhuang's group. Therefore, they could only watch from the side and grit their teeth. Bailey Hongzhuang's group rarely had a chance to relax. At this moment, they were relaxed and basking in the sun. When they were drifting on the sea, they had to constantly be vigilant of the demon beasts that could sneak attack them at any time. Therefore, their mental strength had to be tense at all times. Although there were many gold essence piebald monkeys around them, they didn't give them any pressure. Therefore, this was their most relaxed moment so far. Gao Hanxiu wasn't as good at talking as Gao Hanxia. Therefore, he just sat quietly and looked behind from time to time, as if he was very worried about Gao Hanxia's situation. After Bailey Hongzhuang and the others waited for a while, Gao Hanxia finally returned with a smile on his face. It looks like young Master Gao is returning from a rewarding journey. When Xiren couldn't help but tease when he saw the smile on Gao Hanxia's face. Gao Hanxia laughed heartily. It's all thanks to you guys attracting the attention of the metal essence piebald monkeys. Although these monkeys are smart, they can't be compared to humans. I've obtained quite a bit of monkey wine. Don't worry, I won't take it all for myself. Since we've obtained it, let's set off. Bailey Hongzhuang said slowly, the monkey wine is gone. The golden piebald monkeys should find out soon, right? Gao Hanxia waved his hand and said, there's no hurry. Why don't we go to the shore? I caught a few birds just now and we've been eating rations for so many days. Why don't we eat some game? If the metal essence piebald monkeys really discover us, it won't be too late for us to leave. These monkeys won't leave this island. Game to eat? That's great. Shengguan Ying was pleasantly surprised. During this period of time, she was really sick of eating rations. Young Master Gao is really amazing. While stealing the monkey wine, you can also hunt for game. Truly amazing. Di Beichen's voice was calm, but a complicated light flashed through the depths of his eyes. Chapter 2937. Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three started a fire not far from the shore, while Gao Hanxia and Gao Hanxiu went to the beach to clean up the food. However, after waiting for a while, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three did not see Gao Hanxia and Gao Hanxiu return. What are they doing? Why haven't they returned after so long? They couldn't have met with danger, right? When Xiren could not help but stand up with a complicated expression on his face. I'll go take a look. Di Beichen waved his hand and said, if we're going to act, then let's act together. We'll go together. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three were about to look for Gao Hanxia and Gao Hanxia, the gold essence piebald monkeys, which had been very gentle all this time, suddenly became violent. Pairs of eyes turned blood red, and they attacked Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three in a frenzy. Looking at this sudden change, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were all stunned, but they still took out their weapons for the first time. The strength of the gold essence piebald monkeys was equivalent to a level 8 blue realm monster. With the cultivation of Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three, it was not difficult to deal with them. However, there were more than a few hundred of them. At a glance, the surroundings were densely packed with fist force gold essence piebald monkeys. This entire island was the gathering place of the gold essence piebald monkeys. Even if they had reached level 3 purple realm, being surrounded by so many gold essence piebald monkeys was an extremely frightening thing. Damn it! Why did these gold essence piebald monkeys suddenly go crazy? When Xiren's face was full of confusion, the gold essence piebald monkeys were so docile before and did not attack at all. Why did the gold essence piebald monkeys treat them as irreconcilable enemies in such a short period of time? I'm afraid we've fallen into a trap. Di Beichen's face darkened in an instant, and his eyes were filled with haze. Hearing Di Beichen's words, Xiren's face also turned ugly. You mean this is the doing of Gao Hanxia and Gao Hanxia? Ever since we came to this monkey island, the two of them always wanted to take the opportunity to leave our sight. Previously, they only left Gao Hanxiu behind to avoid our suspicions. After we let down our guard, they left again and we didn't take it to heart. These gold essence piebald monkeys suddenly becoming like this must be related to them. I just don't know how they did it. Di Beichen's brows wrinkled. He had already felt that something was wrong before, but he was not sure, so he did not say anything. Now it seemed that his hunch was not wrong. These two damned people, they really aren't anything good. Shengguan Yingying's face was full of indignation. We helped them with good intentions, but we didn't expect them to bite the hand that fed them. Bailey Hongzhuang also felt a burst of anger, but her pair of bright black eyes were calm. We have to think of a way to get out of here quickly. There are just too many of these gold essence piebald monkeys. It's impossible to kill them all first. These monkeys are too fast. We can only kill our way out first. Once we get on the boat, we'll be safe. Xiren said. Bewitching shook his head. I'm afraid the situation is not that simple. If it was really that easy to leave, Gao Hanxia and Gao Hanxia would not have let us stay so close to the shore. They must be certain that we won't be able to leave. Chapter 29:38. If I'm not wrong, they should be hiding on this monkey island and are watching a good show right now. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes flashed with a malicious and ruthless light. Gao Hanxia and his brother had really taught them a lesson that left a deep impression on them. These two fellows first put on a harmless and honest appearance, and they could be said to have told them everything they knew. Once they'd obtained enough trust from them, they did this now. It was really a good psychological attack. These two fellows are really too despicable. Shengguan Yingying said furiously, if I see them again, I'll definitely take their lives with my own hands. As the wife of the Cloud Sword Sect's junior sect master, no one dared to harm her. Thus, she was extremely furious when she encountered this kind of thing, and her beautiful face was dyed red with anger. The most important thing now is how we're going to escape from the siege of these gold essence piebald monkeys. If we can't escape quickly, we can only be exhausted to death here. Even if we aren't exhausted to death by the gold essence piebald monkeys, Gao Hanxia and Gao Hanxiu are still waiting at the side. If we're in our peak condition, we still have a chance to deal with the two of them. But once we're in a weakened state, it'll be extremely difficult to win against two 5th-level Purple Realm cultivators in their peak condition. Bewitching calmly and rationally analyzed the situation before him. The opponent's move was really formidable, and they were simply in an invincible position. It's useless to think so much now. Let's deal with these gold essence piebald monkeys first. Xiren shouted loudly, then raised his weapon and attacked the gold essence piebald monkeys before him. With so many monkeys surrounding him, it was a hair-raising feeling. Bailey Hongzhuang's group of 3 wasn't slow in the slightest, and a gold essence piebald monkey would definitely lose its life with every swing of their sword. Fortunately, these gold essence piebald monkeys weren't at the Purple Thistle realm. Otherwise, Bailey Hongzhuang's group of 4 would really be helpless. However, even if it was only a blue realm cultivator, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had to use all their strength to kill it as soon as possible. Therefore, the consumption of Yuanqi was also very large. The 3 beasts also joined the battle at the first moment. Their attack power was also very strong, especially the white lion. Its claws and teeth were the sharpest weapons. Compared to the consumption of Bailey Hongzhuang and the other 3, the consumption of the 3 beasties was much lower. Bailey Hongzhuang and the 3 beasts formed a circle with their backs against each other. Their main target was Bewitching, and they intended to approach the coast. However, as Bailey Hongzhuang and the other 3 got closer to the coast, they realized that these gold essence piebald monkeys seemed to have seen through their plan. Therefore, more and more of them gathered by the coast, and some even directly entered the water. Obviously, they were determined not to let Bailey Hongzhuang and the other 3 leave. When he saw this scene, when Xiren secretly spat. These damnable fellows. They lied to us and said that this group of gold essence piebald monkeys wouldn't leave the monkey island. But from what I see, these fellows are clearly extremely skilled in swimming. In this way, even if they walked to the coast, it would be impossible for them to row a boat and leave with the obstruction of these monkeys. Moreover, there were so many uncertain dangers at the bottom of the sea. Chapter 29:39. Then what should we do? Shengguan Yingying couldn't help but panic. Many gold essence piebald monkeys had already fallen under their feet, but the remaining gold essence piebald monkeys were still densely packed together. The number of gold essence piebald monkeys living on this island simply exceeded their expectations. More than half of the yuan li in their bodies had already been consumed. If this continued, Sooner or later they would be defeated by the group of gold essence piebald monkeys due to exhaustion. Bailey Hongzhuang's line of sight turned, and not only did she notice the corpse of a gold essence piebald monkey on the riverbank. Look, isn't that corpse very different? After Bailey Hongzhuang's reminder, everyone also took the opportunity to look at the riverbank while fighting. Only then did they discover that a gold essence piebald monkey had already been disemboweled at some unknown time on the riverbank. However, this gold essence piebald monkey was completely different from the gold essence piebald monkeys they had seen before. The other gold essence piebald monkeys were all brown, but this one was bright red. This gold essence piebald monkey shouldn't be the leader, right? Shangguan Ying was speechless. The ranks of demonic beasts were clearly separated. Whenever there was a demonic beast that was different from the others, its identity would usually be the leader. Looks like the wild game that Gao Hanxia said he found should be this guy. No wonder these gold essence piebald monkeys would suddenly become so crazy. Bewitching's voice was slightly heavy. A trace of sharpness flashed past his pitch-black deep eyes. For a moment, everyone had a feeling that they had previously thought of things too simply. They originally thought that Gao Hanxia duo wouldn't be able to play any tricks under their watch. They didn't expect that the other party had actually arranged everything so seamlessly. Speaking of which, the reason why they had fallen into this situation, on one hand, was because they had too little understanding of Penglai Island. On the other hand, it was also because of their negligence. The feeling of exhaustion gradually came over. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others couldn't help but slow down their speed of killing the demonic beasts. However, the gold essence piebald monkeys had already killed until their eyes turned red. They had completely regarded them as an irreconcilable enemy. Dauntlessly rushing forward wave after wave made them feel very helpless. We can't continue like this. Everyone could not help but feel anxious in their hearts. If this continued, they would only be exhausted to death. Not far away, Gao Hanxia and Gao Hanxiu were watching the show with smiles on their faces. Second brother, they can't hold on much longer. Gao Hanxiu's face was full of smiles. Although they were very vigilant along the way, they still fell for our trick. The older the ginger, the spicier it is, ha! Gao Hanxia's lips curled into a triumphant smile. These guys are young, and this is the first time they have come to Penglai Island. I can only say that they are unlucky. They will lose their lives here before they even arrive. However, judging from the things on their bodies, they should not be ordinary people. The things in their Chenkuan bags must be very rich. Speaking of which, we brothers are really lucky this time. Second brother, do you know what species those 3 contracted beasts are? His battle prowess is so powerful, it's really shocking. Gao Hanxiu's gaze landed on the 3 beasts. He had already noticed the 3 beasts when he was dealing with the aquamarine thornfish. If he could have such beasts, they would be a great help to him. Chapter 2940. I can only say that these guys have an extraordinary background. Their cultivation hasn't even reached the 5th level of the Purple Realm, yet they dared to come to Penglai Island. It's really strange. But let's get rid of them here as soon as possible. This way, no one will know and we won't have to worry about revenge. Just that ship alone is worth tens of thousands of gold. Gao Hanxia's eyes lit up. When he encountered the blue thorns, he only felt that he was unlucky. He didn't expect that there would be a silver lining. This was a good thing that fell from the sky. Gao Hanxiu smiled and nodded. It's not easy to meet such a fat sheep. The heavens are really good to us. Big brother, it's fine if those 2 brats die, but those 2 beauties are really beautiful. Are we just going to let them die like this? Gao Hanxiu's eyes were filled with a trace of covetousness. As soon as he saw Bailey Hongzhuang and Shangguan Ying, he couldn't help but have such thoughts in his mind. Those 2 were the best of the best. Even for the 2 of them, they had never seen such extreme beauties before. It would be a pity if they just watched them die like this. Listening to Gao Hanxiu's words, Gao Hanxia couldn't help but look at Gao Hanxiu and said, "Do you think I don't know what you're thinking? We'll save those 2 beauties later." As soon as these words came out, Gao Hanxiu's eyes suddenly became brighter. He couldn't help but rub his hands together, and his heart was filled with excitement. After seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others might not be able to hold on for long, Gao Hanxia and Gao Hanqiu moved closer. They crossed their arms in front of their chests and looked like they were watching a good show. Gao Hanxia, Gao Hanqiu, you two despicable and shameless guys. Xiren's sharp eyes noticed the two guys approaching and couldn't help but curse angrily. In the face of Xiren's anger, the smiles on Gao Hanxia and Gao Hanqiu's faces became wider. With your strength, going to Penglai Island is just going to die. You even have to sacrifice two beauties. Why don't we send you on your way? The sooner you die, the sooner you can reincarnate. Gao Hanxia and Gao Hanqiu looked at each other and laughed even more heartily. How could they not be happy when such a good thing fell on their heads? Bailey Hongzhuang and the others' expressions turned even uglier when they heard Gao Hanxia and his brother's words. Bewitching and Xiren's eyes flashed with killing intent. These two damned bastards actually dared to covet their women? You guys are shameless. Shengguan Ying was so angry that her face turned red. How could such shameless words come out of the other party's mouth? It was a great insult. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were sharp and cold as she looked at the other party. Scum like you, I'm afraid you're not qualified? Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang was suspicious of them, Gao Hanxia couldn't help but say, Beauty, don't worry. Soon I will let you know how brave we are. In the next second, Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching couldn't help but look at each other. Bewitching nodded to Bailey Hongzhuang without a trace, and Bailey Hongzhuang immediately understood. Chapter 2941. At the same time, when Xiren and Shengguan Ying had both consumed a pill, their eyes were gloomy and fierce as they stared at Gao Hanxia and Shengguan Ying. Suddenly smelling a strange fragrance, Gao Hanxia and Gao Hanqiu could not help but look at each other. Their eyes were filled with suspicion as if something was amiss. However, what happened next completely shocked the two of them. Within their line of sight, the gold essence piebald monkeys, who had been attacking Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, suddenly seemed to have gone mad and began to kill each other. After the gold essence piebald monkeys had killed each other, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had easily retreated from the encirclement. At this moment, their faces were gloomy as they stared at Gao Hanxia and Shengguan Ying. This sudden turn of events had clearly exceeded Gao Hanxia and Shengguan Ying's expectations. When the two of them saw this, their minds were momentarily unable to process the situation. They could not understand how Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had managed to break through a situation where victory was within their grasp in such a short time. You know how to use poison? Gao Hanxia's eyes instantly widened as he stared at Bailey Hongzhuang in shock. His pale face was filled with disbelief. Unfortunately, I am a poison master. Bailey Hongzhuang's voice was calm and indifferent, but it was like a blow to Gao Hanxia and Shengguan Ying's heads. Under this kind of situation where they were surrounded, any cultivator would be helpless. However, there was one kind of person who was an exception, and that was a poison master. Poison masters were least afraid of using a sea of people because their poison did not care about the number of people. It had the same lethality and disregarded everything. They had never thought that there would be a poison master among Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. You've already seen through our actions? Gao Hanqiu asked in disbelief. Do you really think that your acting skills are outstanding? If we only had your intelligence, we would have died many times over. When Xiren's handsome and refined face curled into a playful smile. They were not flowers in a greenhouse. During their years of training in the outside world, they had experienced various schemes. Even though Gao Hanxia and Shengguan Ying's acting skills were not bad, to them, apart from themselves, they would not believe everything said by anyone else. Therefore, they had never let down their guard. Then why were you surrounded previously? Gao Hanxia lost his voice and his voice suddenly became sharper. Bewitching looked at him coldly and said, I want to see what kind of tricks you are playing. If we don't cooperate with the play that you have painstakingly put on, wouldn't that disappoint you? As soon as these words came out, Gao Hanxia and Gao Hanqiu felt as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over them from head to toe. They couldn't help but feel a chill run down their spine. They thought that Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three were young, and their life experience was certainly not rich enough. Their experience in Jianghu was also not enough, so they had such thoughts. Who would have thought that not only were the four of them not inexperienced, but on the contrary, they looked like they were extremely experienced. You're only at the 3rd level of the Purple Realm. You're no match for us brothers. Gao Hanxia regained his senses after a short moment of shock. Since things had developed to this point, there was no hope for them to effortlessly get rid of the other party. However, they still had a higher chance of winning in a direct confrontation. Chapter 2942. Hearing Gao Hanxia's words, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two smiled tacitly at the same time. Exhaustion was indeed a situation that no one could avoid. However, their physical fitness was also far from what ordinary cultivators could compare to. After a long period of high-intensity battles, their endurance had long been imperceptibly improved. Their previous anxiousness and exhaustion were just a pretense to deceive Gao Hanxia and his brother. In reality, the previous battle did not cause them to fall into such a state. Bailey Hongzhuang, Bewitching, and the 3 beasties often cultivated in the desert world. Once the demonic beasts in the desert world appeared, they did not care whether they were exhausted or not. Instead, they were all creatures with rough skin and thick flesh that could take a beating. The physical strength and energy required to deal with them were much more than ordinary demonic beasts. After such a long time, they had long been used to it. Although Xiren and Shangguan Yingying did not have the opportunity to train like Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, they had some understanding of Sect Master Wen's character. Normally, his requirements for Wen Xiren and Shangguan Yingying would not be low. Cut the crap, do it? A cold, killing intent flashed in Bewitching's eyes that were as deep as an ancient well. He was too lazy to waste his breath on these two fellows. In reality, from the moment these two fellows dared to have fantasies about Bailey Hongzhuang that they should not have, the killing intent in his heart had already begun to boil. When Xiren nodded, a grim expression surfaced on his elegant and broad face. Don't be fooled by his usual mischievous face. Shangguan Yingying was his reverse scale. These two damned fellows, he must personally wring their necks. Bailey Hongzhuang and Shangguan Yingying followed closely behind, killing intent boiling in their eyes. The anger from before had completely exploded at this moment. When Gao Hanxia and Shangguan Yingying saw that Bewitching's group of 4, whose strength could not be compared to theirs, actually dared to take the initiative to challenge them, an expression of disbelief appeared on their faces. Could it be that these fellows were really that confident in their strength? At the level of the Purple Realm, the gap between 2 levels was not ordinary. Bewitching's mind moved, and the blood aura field instantly erupted. A terrifying killing intent mixed with a strong smell of blood swept out with him as the center. The aura that was originally at the 3rd level of the Purple Realm directly rose to the 5th level of the Purple Realm at this moment. Seeing this scene, Gao Hanxia and Gao Hanxiu could not help but be dumbfounded. Blood Aura Field. You are actually the inheritor of the Blood Aura Tower. Gao Hanxiu exclaimed. Looking at Bewitching, it was as if he had seen a ghost. He had gone to Penglai Island and was very familiar with the power of the Blood Qi field. However, he had never thought that the young man in front of him, who he thought would be easy to deal with, was actually the inheritor of the Blood Qi field. You have some eyes see. After his words as he directly, to the attacks attack twos to attack. Of his yang. At the same time, Bailey Hongzhuang's blood aura field also erupted at the first moment. Ending the battle quickly was the best way. Earlier, when they fought with the aquamarine thorns, they already had a certain understanding of the strength of Gao Hanxia and his brother. Chapter 2943. It was because of this that they didn't mind being on the same boat as Gao Hanxia and his brother. The other party had been trying to deceive them, so how could they not be prepared? After seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang was also an inheritor of the blood aura, Gao Hanxia and his brother were completely dumbfounded. The inheritance of the blood aura was something that only geniuses among geniuses could obtain. Normally, they could only fantasize about it. They knew very well that it was impossible for them to obtain such an inheritance. However, They had never seen an inheritor of the blood aura before. They didn't expect that two of them would appear. At this moment, they finally understood why Bailey Hongzhuang and the others dared to come to Penglai Island even though their cultivation hadn't reached the 5th level of the Purple Realm. It turned out that they had such confidence. The combat power of an inheritor of the blood aura could no longer be judged simply by their cultivation. They often had the ability to fight above their level. It seemed that the pie in the sky that they thought was falling from the sky wasn't the case at all. It was just that they had thought too simply. "Third brother, let's fight," Gao Hanxia shouted. They had no way out now. If they didn't kill the other party, only death would await them. Gao Hanxia nodded. The elemental energy in his body burst out in an instant. He didn't dare to leave any leeway. If they weren't careful, the brothers could very well lose their lives here. Bang bang bang. Vigorous elemental energy swept across the Monkey Island. Martial arts techniques collided continuously. The destructive power was extremely shocking. However, the gold essence-spotted monkeys had already killed each other to the point that they couldn't differentiate between them. Therefore, they didn't know what was happening outside. The three beasties weren't idle either. Although their cultivation wasn't as high as Gao Hanxia and Wen Xinbei, they had the advantage in numbers. When they joined forces, even Gao Hanxia and Wen Xinbei felt a headache. However, Gao Hanxia and Wen Xinbei were still cultivators of the 5th level of the Purple Realm. The elemental energy in their bodies was extremely abundant. At this moment, their combat power was extremely terrifying. Boom! An earth-shattering sound rang out. Bewitching and Xiren both took 2 steps back, while Gao Hanxia's body flew backward. Ta-da-da! Gao Hanxia's feet continuously stepped on the ground. The ground under his feet cracked inch by inch, leaving behind spiderweb-like cracks. In the end, he leaned against a peach tree to stabilize his body. His expression became extremely ugly. His originally rosy face had become pale. As the blood had faded, his gaze towards Bewitching and Xiren was filled with fear. Just as he wanted to speak, Gao Hanxia's as he spat out a mouthful of blood mixed with his internal organs. He's a zest. Seeing this, Bewitching raised his eyebrows and when Xiren's lips curled into a smile. The two did not hesitate to attack Gao Hanxia again. Taking his to kill him. Gao Hanxia's eyes flashed with a hint of panic. For a moment, he didn't have the heart to fight and chose to escape. His injuries were already extremely serious. If he were to endure another blow, his little life would be completely lost. Bewitching and Xiren naturally wouldn't let him do as he wished. They immediately chased after him, and 2 attacks lingered around him. Bang! Chapter 2944. Bailey Hongzhuang, Shangguan Yingying, and the 3 beasties' target was Gao Xiaqiu. As Gao Hanxia's younger brother, Gao Xiaqiu's strength was weaker than Gao Hanxia's. Although Gao Hanxiu's explosive fighting strength was very shocking when he was in danger, Bailey Hongzhuang and Shangguan Yingying's combined fighting strength was also very good. In addition to the 3 beasties' assistants, it wasn't difficult for them to deal with Gao Hanxiu. In fact, even if Bailey Hongzhuang were to face Gao Hanxiu alone, she wouldn't be afraid. What's more, he had so many helpers now. It would be a piece of cake to deal with them. Bewitching and when Xiren slowly walked towards Gao Hanxia who was lying on the ground, unable to get up. Gao Hanxia had underestimated them, thinking that they were only ordinary 3rd-level Purple Realm cultivators. In fact, each of them had the ability to fight above their level. You guys, don't come over. Gao Hanxia's eyes flashed with deep panic, and his voice was trembling. It was a stark contrast to the proud smile from before. I heard that you 2 brothers have designs on our women? Xiren's lips curled slightly, and his low and hoarse voice quietly sounded in Gao Hanxia's ears, but Gao Hanxia couldn't help but shiver. Whether it was Bewitching or when Xiren, their gazes were as sharp as knives, making him feel as if he had fallen into an ice cellar. In the next moment, the sound of someone falling to the ground rang out beside Gao Hanxia, stirring up a cloud of dust. Looking carefully, Gao Hanxia realized that the person who had fallen beside him was none other than his 3rd brother, Gao Hanxiu. Bailey Hongzhuang and Shangguan Yingying immediately came to Di Beichen's side. Looking at the Gao brothers who had lost their fighting strength, a smile bloomed on their pretty faces. Shangguan Yingying clapped her hands. These two fellows were so arrogant before, and I thought they were very powerful. Quickly get rid of them, and let's continue on our way. We don't have to waste any more time here. Since it's Madam's order, there's naturally no problem. Xiren immediately nodded, looking as if he was obeying her orders. Hearing Shangguan Yingying's words, Gao Hanxia and Shangguan Yingying felt a chill in their hearts and hurriedly said, "Madam, please be magnanimous and spare us this time." As soon as these words came out, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others couldn't help but chuckle. Compared to the previous clamor of Gao Hanxia and his brother, this kind of begging for mercy at the moment was really a bit ironic. However, if they really believed their words, they would be stupid. These words, do you believe your own words? Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had made up their minds to not let them go, the two of them were extremely anxious. They had painstakingly cultivated to their current level with great difficulty. They hadn't even had the time to enjoy their lives, yet they were going to lose their lives just like that. It was really too unreconciled to accept this. You can't kill us. Gao Hanxia calmed down and looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three with a burning gaze. My big brother left a magic weapon on us. If you dare to kill us, my big brother will never let you go. If you go to Penglai Island, you'll also die. You'll definitely be hunted down by my big brother. Why don't you let us go, and we'll write off all our grievances, how about it? Chapter 2945. There were indeed some methods in this world. After a cultivator had fallen, they would send a video of their death back to their family so that they would know who had killed them. That way, their family would be able to avenge them. However, the cost of creating such a video was not small. Therefore, although it existed, it was rarely seen on a daily basis. They never thought that the Gao brothers would have such a thing on them. Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three did not doubt this. Along the way, although the Gao brothers had deceived them quite a bit, they were all half-truths. They believed that Gao Hanchun was on Penglai Island and his position should be quite high. From what they had heard, Gao Hanchun treated his two younger brothers very well. Therefore, it was not strange for them to have such a thing on them. Once they arrived on Penglai Island, it would be very troublesome if they were to be hunted down by Gao Hanchun. When Gao Hanxia and the other two saw the hesitation on Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three's faces, they were overjoyed. It seemed that their words had made the other party wary. My big brother has been on Penglai Island for many years and his influence is not small. I'm afraid that you'll be targeted as soon as you arrive on Penglai Island. The fear on Gao Hanxia's face had disappeared. At this moment, he was certain that Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three would not dare to make a move. Instead, he began to act recklessly. In this world, the most important thing was power. Gao Hanchuan's existence was destined to be feared. I see that you're getting cockier and cockier. When he saw the smug look on Gao Hanxia's face again, Xiren's displeasure exploded. In the next second, his sharp sword pierced Gao Hanxia's chest without hesitation. You're so cocky because I said you were fat. I hate it when people act arrogantly in front of me. If he wanted to be arrogant, he would only be arrogant in front of others. Gao Hanxia could not help but be dumbfounded. Just a second ago, he had seen Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three's hesitation. Just because of his third brother's smug look, Xiren had directly killed his third brother? What happened to the promised turnaround? He was completely out of character. Since we've already killed him, his elder brother should already know that Gao Hanxia was killed by us. Let's just kill them all. Di Beichen's voice was cold, and the sharp sword in his hand had already turned towards Gao Hanxia. Hearing this, Gao Hanxia could not help but shudder in his heart. He hurriedly said, No, 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 don't kill me. I can talk to my big brother and ask him not to be calculative. However, Di Beichen simply ignored Gao Hanxia's words. The sword in his hand had already pierced down. Gao Hanxia's eyes were wide open as he stared at Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three. In his mind, he kept thinking that if his third brother hadn't been so complacent, would the situation have been different? However, he could only go to the netherworld to find the answer. These two fellows are really stupid. I teased them and they really thought they had a chance to live. When Xiren wiped off the blood on his sword and put it back into the scabbard, his lips curled into a playful smile. If you cut the grass without removing the roots, it will grow again when the spring breeze blows. This was a famous saying that they had kept in mind since they were young. Chapter 2946. At the same time, a middle-aged man on Penglai Island was staring at the scene in front of him. He was waiting for his two younger brothers to come to Penglai Island to help him and become his right and left arms. However, they were killed on their way to Penglai Island. His eyes turned blood red in an instant and the veins on his temples bulged rapidly. The teacup in his hand was crushed into powder by him. These four bastards, he would definitely tear them into pieces with his own hands. Xiren and Bewitching reached out and took Gao Hanxia and his brother's Qianquan pouch. Just as they were about to check if there was anything useful inside, a scene suddenly appeared in front of their eyes. It was a face that looked very similar to Gao Hanxia and his brother. At this moment, his eyes were burning with rage. If he could erupt, he would have burned Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three into ashes. Unfortunately, he could only leave behind an image and could not do anything to Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. The four of you, as long as you dare to step into Penglai Island, I will make sure you die with my brother. A loud and murderous voice rang in the ears of Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three. The image then disappeared. Looking at the murderous gaze in the image, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three could not help but look at each other. Sure enough, Gao Hanxia and his brother were not lying. Gao Hanxia has already remembered the four of us. It seems that we have already set up a very strong enemy before we even arrived at Penglai Island. Bailey Hongzhuang sighed, her eyes were as calm as water, but there was no fear. We have to be more careful when we reach Penglai Island. With the other party's methods, it should be very easy for them to find new cultivators. Bewitching's handsome face flashed with a trace of seriousness. His voice was low and cautious. Before they understood Penglai Island, everything was unknown. They had to be more careful. When the time comes, we'll disguise ourselves first. It's best if we split into two groups to go ashore, or dress up as men. This way, it won't be easy for Gao Hanxia to confirm that it's us. Bailey Hongzhuang's inky black phoenix eyes rippled with confidence. The reason why Bailey Hongzhuang wasn't afraid of Gao Hanxia's discovery was because they could change their appearances. With her disguise technique, ordinary people would not be able to see through her. Hearing this, Bewitching nodded. This was the only method they could use for now. Don't worry. There are so many powerful people on Penglai Island. I don't believe that Gao Hanxia can cover the sky with one hand. Maybe we are lucky. Shangguan Yingying smiled slightly, and a joke dispelled the originally slightly heavy atmosphere. Yingying is right. Let's take a look at what's inside this cosmos sack. It might be of some help to us. When Xiren was obviously an optimist. As long as the situation did not develop to a point where they could not accept it, everything was still hopeful. Opening the cosmos sack, everyone could not help but feel that Gao Hanxia and his brother were quite wealthy. There were quite a lot of elixirs and money inside. However, Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest did not pay much attention to these and kept it. What is this? Xiren took out a few crystal clear stones from the cosmos sack. The size of these stones were not very regular, but there was a strong fluctuation of elemental energy on them. Chapter 2947. Penglai Island really has a lot of new things. I am already very interested even before reaching Penglai Island. Xiren's handsome face revealed a look of anticipation. No wonder his family's old man kept asking him to come to Penglai Island. It seemed that this place was really a new world. If he could make a name for himself on Penglai Island, it would be really good. There really is monkey wine. They did not lie to us about this. Shangguan Yingying said in surprise. There were several large wine jars placed inside the Qianquan bag. Even though they were sealed, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others could still smell the rich wine fragrance. Just by smelling it, I can tell that it is good stuff. Bewitching's lips slightly lifted. He had been tasting wine with his master for so many years. Just by smelling it, he could tell that this wine was not ordinary. The wine brewed by these golden piebald monkeys was indeed excellent. It must be one of the best wines in the entire Xingqian continent. After carefully looking at the various things inside, most of them were ordinary things. However, there were 2 invitation letters that attracted the attention of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. Auction invitation letter? Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the words written on the gilded invitation letter. Her eyes suddenly brightened. They had specially come to Penglai Island this time to go to the auction. They did not expect the Gao Hanxia brothers to have an invitation letter to the auction. From the looks of it, I am afraid that the auction on Penglai Island is not something that just anyone can attend. Only people who have an invitation letter can enter. Bewitching looked at the invitation letter in his hand. There were small words written on it. An invitation letter could only bring one more person. It was just right that the 4 of them had 2 invitation letters. No matter what, this is good news. We have to keep it well. When Xiren was all smiles. Although they had been schemed against, they were still very satisfied with their gains overall. We've been delayed here for so long. Let's go. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. Originally, the monkey island was filled with the fragrance of peaches. It was very pleasant to smell, but now it was completely covered by the smell of blood. It was not a pleasant smell at all. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Bewitching and the other 2 nodded and walked towards the shore together. The metal fairies' piebald monkeys, who were originally in a frenzy, were now completely exhausted. One by one, they fainted. However, the number of corpses on the ground was still shocking. Hongzhuang, are these gold essence-spotted monkeys all dead? Shangguan Yingying looked at the scene in front of her and sighed. In fact, these gold essence piebald monkeys were very cowardly. If they had not been used by Gao Hanxia, they would not have fallen to such a state. A monkey that knew how to brew wine was very interesting. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head. The casualties are not small. However, they are not extinct. Don't worry, the reproduction of demon beasts has always been very scary. Humans and demon beasts had been in a state of confrontation for so many years. The advantage of humans was their intelligence, while the advantage of demon beasts was their reproduction. As long as they were not extinct, it was only a matter of time before they could develop again. So that's how it is. Shangguan Yingying smiled faintly. Let's go. Xiren waved his hand and the boat appeared on the sea. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.